Viewer advisory. The events you are about to witness are based on a true story. Some scenes may be deeply unsettling for certain audiences. Viewer discretion is strongly recommended. The fluorescent lights of Green Valley Hospital flickered ominously as 20-year-old Sarah Chun finished her late shift, unaware that she was about to stumble into one of the most chilling medical conspiracies in modern history. What started as a routine nursing assignment would soon expose a web of corporate greed, human experimentation, and murder that reached the highest levels of the medical establishment. This is the true story of how one young nurse's courage brought down an entire criminal empire built on the suffering of innocent patients. Tonight's story is one that will leave you rattled. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, give this video a like, and tell us in the comments where in the world you're tuning in from. Now, let's begin. It was a humid Tuesday night in September when Sarah first noticed something wasn't right. As a relatively new nurse with only 6 months of experience, she had learned to trust her instincts, and something about patient Michael Thompson in room 12 felt deeply wrong. The 25-year-old had been admitted 3 weeks earlier with severe chest pains and what doctors claimed was a rapidly deteriorating heart condition. But Michael seemed far too composed for someone facing death, and there was an alertness in his eyes that didn't match his supposed medical state. The first red flag came during Sarah's midnight rounds. She discovered a handwritten note tucked between the pages of Michael's medical chart that would change everything. Don't trust anyone. My life depends on you. Meet me at midnight. The message was signed simply with his initials. Against every protocol she had been taught, Sarah found herself drawn to room 12 at the stroke of midnight. Michael was waiting for her, propped up in his hospital bed, moonlight casting shadows across his angular features. When he spoke, his voice carried an urgency that made her blood run cold. "Sarah, I need you to listen very carefully," Michael whispered, glancing nervously at the door. "I'm not dying from heart disease. Someone in this hospital has been slowly poisoning me for 3 weeks, making it look like natural organ failure." The confession hit Sarah like a physical blow. She had spent countless hours caring for Michael, watching him grow progressively weaker, comforting him through what she believed were his final days. Now he was telling her it was all orchestrated murder. "That's impossible," Sarah protested. But even as she spoke, pieces of a disturbing puzzle began falling into place. The unexplained needle marks on Michael's arms that didn't match his foresights. The mysterious medications that appeared on his chart without explanation. The way certain staff members seemed overly interested in his condition. Before Michael could explain further, the distinctive beeping of his heart monitor suddenly erupted into chaos. His vitals spiked dangerously as he clutched his chest in apparent agony. Sarah's training kicked in automatically, but as she checked his readings, Michael grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. "This isn't random," he gasped between labored breaths. "They're escalating because they know I'm onto them. Sarah, if something happens to me, you have to promise me something." He pressed a small key into her palm. "Safety deposit box 247 at Citibank on Main Street. Everything you need to know is in there." The sound of approaching footsteps sent ice through Sarah's veins. Michael's eyes widened in terror as he whispered urgently, "Hide, now." Sarah barely had time to conceal herself behind the room's privacy curtain before the door opened. Through a small gap in the fabric, she watched a man in a white coat enter. But it wasn't Dr. Johnson, Michael's assigned physician. This man moved with predatory confidence as he approached Michael's bed. "Time for your evening medication," the stranger announced in a voice devoid of compassion. "I don't want any more medicine," Michael protested weakly. "I'm afraid that's not your choice." Sarah watched in horror as the fake doctor prepared a syringe filled with an unknown substance. Despite Michael's weak struggles, the man injected the contents directly into his foreline. Within seconds, Michael's protests faded to silence as his eyes rolled back and his breathing became dangerously shallow. The imposter paused at the doorway, turning back with a cold smile. "Sweet dreams, Michael. Tomorrow we finish this." Once alone, Sarah emerged from hiding and frantically checked Michael's chart against the medication he had just received. Her worst fears were confirmed. The injection wasn't listed anywhere in his treatment plan. Whatever had just been pumped into Michael's bloodstream was not medicine. It was poison designed to accelerate his death while maintaining the appearance of natural heart failure. Sarah spent that entire night at Michael's bedside, monitoring his breathing and pulse as the foreign substance wreaked havoc on his system. When dawn finally broke, Michael stirred consciousness, his face pale and drawn. "You saw him, didn't you?" Michael whispered. Sarah nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. "I need to tell you the truth about who I really am," Michael continued, his voice barely audible. "I'm not just an innocent victim, Sarah. I used to work for MedTech Corporation as a pharmaceutical researcher. We had a contract with this hospital to test experimental drugs." The revelation hit Sarah like a slap. "You were part of this." "At first, I thought we were developing life-saving medications. But I discovered they were using patients as unwilling test subjects, falsifying consent forms, covering up deaths. When I tried to quit and go to authorities, they decided I was too dangerous to leave alive." Sarah backed away from the bed, struggling to process this information. "So everything between us, your feelings, your fear of dying, it was all lies?" "No," Michael said desperately. "My feelings for you are the only genuine thing in this nightmare. That's why I'm trusting you with this." He pulled out a folded piece of paper. "There's something else in that safety deposit box. Evidence that proves where they're holding my sister, Emma Matthews." Sarah's world tilted on its axis. "Emma Matthews is my sister." Michael stared at her in stunned silence. "That's impossible. Emma's been missing for 3 months. They took her to ensure my silence." The horrifying truth crashed over Sarah in waves. Her sister Emma, who she believed was studying abroad in Paris, had actually been kidnapped by the same pharmaceutical company that was now trying to murder Michael. The postcards, the occasional emails, all fabricated to cover up an abduction. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway outside, accompanied by hushed but urgent voices. Michael grabbed Sarah's hand with what little strength remained. "They're coming to finish the job. You have to leave now. Get to that safety deposit box and save Emma." "I'm not abandoning you," Sarah protested. "If you stay, they'll kill us both, and Emma dies too. Please, Sarah, this is the only way." With tears streaming down her face, Sarah kissed Michael's forehead and climbed through the window, dropping into the hospital parking lot just as multiple figures entered his room. At Citibank, the contents of safety deposit box 247 revealed the full scope of MedTech's crimes. Hundreds of photographs documented illegal drug trials. Financial records showed payments to hospital administrators. Audio recordings captured conversations between company executives discussing how to eliminate problematic test subjects. Among the evidence, Sarah found 2 letters. One was addressed to Emma, containing Michael's confession and apology. The other bore Sarah's name. Through tear-blurred vision, she read Michael's final words, his declaration of love, his regret for involving her, and his hope that she would find the strength to bring justice for all the victims. Sarah drove straight to the FBI field office, where agents initially viewed her story with skepticism until she presented Michael's evidence. The documentation was so comprehensive, so damning, that within hours federal warrants were issued for raids on both the hospital and MedTech's corporate headquarters. The simultaneous raids resulted in 13 arrests, including the fake doctor who had been systematically poisoning Michael and 4 hospital administrators who had been taking bribes to provide access to vulnerable patients. In MedTech's basement offices, agents found Emma Matthews along with 2 other kidnapping victims, all being held to ensure their relatives' cooperation in the cover-up. But when Sarah returned to Green Valley Hospital with the FBI team, room 12 was empty. Hospital records showed that Michael Thompson had been transferred to another facility, but no such transfer had actually occurred. Security footage from the parking lot revealed a black van leaving the hospital grounds at 3:47 a.m., approximately 20 minutes after Sarah's escape through the window. Michael's body was discovered 3 days later in a wooded area outside the city. The coroner's report confirmed massive organ failure consistent with poison overdose, but by then, his sacrifice had already dismantled the entire criminal conspiracy. The subsequent trials sent shockwaves through the medical community. MedTech Corporation was dissolved, its assets liquidated to provide compensation for victims' families. 17 executives received prison sentences ranging from 15 years to life. The hospital's medical license was permanently revoked, and new federal oversight laws were enacted to prevent similar conspiracies. Emma Matthews made a full physical recovery, though the psychological trauma of her 3-month captivity required extensive therapy. She and Sarah grew closer than they had ever been, bonded by their shared ordeal and Michael's sacrifice. Today, Sarah works as a patient advocate, ensuring that informed consent laws are strictly enforced in medical facilities across the country. She visits Michael's grave every month, updating him on the lives saved by his courage and the ongoing reforms his evidence made possible. The Michael Thompson Memorial Foundation has funded independent medical oversight at dozens of hospitals, preventing future pharmaceutical companies from exploiting vulnerable patients. His death meant that no other families would suffer as Sarah and Emma had suffered. In the end, justice wasn't just served, it was served with the kind of comprehensive reform that ensures such systematic abuse can never again hide behind the trusted walls of medical institutions. Michael Thompson died a hero, and his legacy continues to protect innocent patients every single day. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We upload new true crime content daily, covering cases you know and many you don't. Stick with us as we bring you more stories that deserve to be heard. See you in the next video.